Good morning. A little more energetic. Good morning. Lovely, lovely. And how are you all this morning doing? Lovely, fantastic. I'm going to take this opportunity and introduce two lovely ladies that we have here. I'm going to also give you a little bit about what we're going to do today, and then I will ask them to take it over. Can I please introduce Anubhuti Jain, who's a senior UX designer at Flipkart, where she leads the mobile charter for seller design. She's worked on both consumer and seller facing products, and prior to Flipkart, she was with helping make meaningful solutions at Groupon US. She's got a master's in design from Carnegie Mellon University, US. And may I introduce Neelam as well. Neelam Shetty is a principal design researcher at Flipkart. She leads the research charter for both consumer and seller offerings. And as a user researcher, she sees the power of empathy at work every single day. I'm sure most of us are going to resonate with this because I believe for women leaders, empathy comes very naturally. But to our surprise, we're going to learn some techniques and principles behind that. And let's see if we can implement that as well. By the way, I'm Pradnya Kulkarni. I lead HR at ANZ Technology. So it's all over to you, lovely ladies.
No? So let me hear you say oi very loud on count of three. Oi! I haven't counted three yet.
That was good.
Okay, one, two, three. Oh, that was weak. Let's try again. Count of three, okay? Three. See, I'm checking whether you're up or not. Okay, last time. One, two, three. That's better. Okay, so thanks for the introduction, Pradnya. That's me, Anubhuti. That's Neelam. I think I just want to quickly introduce the whole idea that we have here. We come from a research and design background, but what we're talking here is very kind of core to how we function every day. And the reason why we still it kind of comes from design is because a lot of it I learned while learning design. So we want to kind of merge UX and bring it to your teams. How can you build a better work culture around it? I think I lost my clicker somewhere. Okay, sorry. Thank you. So I hope, okay. So before we get into that, I know I've been asking you guys to kind of sit separately. Let's get a quick raise of hand on how many of you are from product? Okay, quite a few. What about tech, engineering? Okay. So I saw a lot of product people sitting together. It would be nice if you want to like intersperse. Like, don't sit with people you know. Don't sit with like identical souls because that's what we want to explore. Like when we go to work, we don't talk to people like us every day. So if you want to move around, feel free to do that. 4 people on a table is good. So if there are empty tables, move around. But if you're more, that's fine too. People who are sitting in the back, if you want to join a table, please do. It will be more fun that way. Otherwise, it's just going to be us talking. And okay. And what about work experience? Just to get a sense of like how many are like still like fresh, learning a lot under 3 years of experience. Okay. What about something between 5 to 10? Okay, so we have quite a few. And above 10? Ah, okay. So it's a good mix. I think that's pretty good. The reason we wanted to do that was just to get a sense of how solid our habits are, and let's see how much we can change them over the next few minutes. So, kind of quick definition of what empathy is. This is a very key use word, especially if you're coming from something UX or product. You kind of hear that every day, empathy towards the users. It's basically the ability to feel what the other person is feeling. Right? There are different kinds. Things that you react to based on your senses is more sensorial versus something that somebody makes you feel is more about, empathy, which is more emotional. We're gonna not segregate the session in that way, but just to kind of, when you're talking to each other, be cognizant about it and kind of see whether it's something that they're saying that's making you feel or is this something that you're kind of, sensing based on their behavior. So this is one of my favorite quotes, right? And I actually feel it applies to any organization and any team. You can build whatever you want to build. If you do not invest in building your company, building a culture in your company, nobody's going to stay. And after that time, if nobody's going to stay, you don't have a product. So if you look at any bigger companies out there like Google or Apple, they're known for their culture in some ways, right? Google has a very hospitable, multidisciplinary culture. So culture is key to building a company, and empathy kind of plays a big role in it. Um, so why does it help? Like, why does it help to understand others? So first thing is when you understand others, you have a better, kind of develop closer relationships, right? I'm not talking about being best friends with them, but we all come from like multidisciplinary, we all are from different cities, different backgrounds. We kind of come together and try to create a product. So if I don't really understand where you are coming from, what is it that kind of bothers you, affects you, again, not trying to be best friends, but just like having an empathetic human conscience around it, it helps you build better products and services. The reason I say that is because when you kind of take ownership on things, when you kind of say, okay, this is how things should be, and you kind of start defining it, you kind of move from siloed work culture. You kind of take, it's less of a dependency you have on others versus more interdependency where everybody kind of understands what the other person is doing. There's transparency. It just helps you build a better product because you understand things more clearly. And again, collective decision making is very empowering, right? A lot of times what I've heard from people or have often felt myself is you don't feel like you're making the decision. You feel like you're executing someone else's, whether it's the CEO, whether it's your manager, you're executing someone else's vision, unless you're doing a startup. In that case, you're probably the person who is making other people execute that vision. But the idea is how can we create co-ownership? How can we make people feel like they are as much essential as somebody actually calling the shots? So I think these kind of things come when you're more empathetic towards the crew you're working with. And also at individual level, it also creates more ownership, which leads to a better product again. So these are some of the myths that I've encountered around empathy, and I'm going to just quickly walk through them. And let me assure you, these are all myths, like none of them is reality. To empathize is not to be a softie. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you like not a strong person. It's just human nature to actually understand where the other person is coming from. You need to be personal to be empathetic. I don't think you need to be best friends at work with everybody to be actually empathetic to them. You can just be a little more thoughtful in your actions, and that's about enough. Strong, no-nonsense women are kind of, called the B word in the work environment, and they're kind of, people don't like them. It's like, oh, can you just go easy? You're being too hard. Nobody says that to a guy. I mean, that's, again, a stereotype. I don't think it applies everywhere, but worth mentioning. It's not a women thing. I've seen enough men around in our industry who are very, very empathetic towards the co-workers. And it does not happen over drink. This was actually a comment we got recently. We were talking about empathy to somebody. He's like, oh, let's just go and drink. I was like, but I don't really need to drink with you to actually be empathetic to you, right? I don't, like, to be nice to you, I don't have to be best buddies. It kind of bleeds back to that. So I just want to set a little bit context, right? We do not have a magic wand that we're going to give you today that you can take home and everything is going to be awesome, right? It's a muscle. I'm sorry if I disappointed you. But you will hopefully learn something. We'll get a check on that. But it's a muscle. You need to work on it, right? When you go to the gym, you don't like get your abs and your body the first day you get there, right? You have to work on it. It would hurt also a little bit in the start because you might actually not get, you might be very empathetic towards other people and they're just being like, whatever, I don't care about you. It takes work. Culture shift is a work in progress always. So you need to invest in it. But once you've built it, it becomes such an innate part of how you behave, and especially as leaders, because you're setting an example. You're setting an example on how the team should be built. So on that note, let's actually get into the fun stuff. We're gonna kick off with the exercise. I see a lot more people have joined. Should we kind of bring them 6 on each table?
I guess 6 on each table is good. Or there are eight. There are 8 chairs at each table, so I don't know if we could have 2 groups
Or
per
we could
table.
actually ask them to kind of become 4 in that too, right? Yeah, and the people who cannot be just in this, what we would suggest is kind of identify
turn
a
around
group
the
of
chairs to
4
be
there
4,
itself, and we'll come and talk to you there. Like basically the next 20-30 minutes are going to be conversation and a small exercise that you'll be doing in your group. Try to sit with people that you do not know. It helps create stronger conversations. But try to like identify a group of 4 in the back that you you want to work with, and
You can turn around your chairs if that's.
yeah, like I mean, you don't really
like
need
a-
to see us. I mean, I think you've seen enough
We'll
of
just
that,
walk
but,
around.
yeah, we'll walk around. It's going to be very interactive. There's not much on the slides post this, but try to identify groups of 4, and we'll start from there.
Even at the tables, how many chairs are at the table? 1, 2, 3, 8, right? So we could have 2 groups per. I mean,
Yeah, we could do that.
yeah. So
Actually, why don't we have 1 chair here
could have-
and 2 here,
somebody here, 2 here,
and the 2 here too.
everyone at the back. You can come.
Trust me, you're not going to
front.
learn anything if you do not interact in a group. So it's essential you either form a group there or move to a table in the front. Sorry? Oh, okay. So, okay, sorry. Thought I was loud. So try to form groups of 4. Either try move forward and we'll help you with that, or if you're sitting in the back,
So
identify 4
we need
people that you want to be in a
someone
group
can
with.
come here. I think that'll be so. We'll have 4
Okay.
and
As we're doing this, I'm also going to start distributing the material.
that's here as well. Yeah. So while Anu's distributing, Janine, while Anu's going around distributing the material for the activity, can I have your attention here? I'll kind of quickly tell you what the activity is about. So like Anubhuti mentioned earlier, you know, it's like a muscle, and it's essentially like working out, right? And how many people go to the gym here? I mean, if you don't mind raising your hands, be proud of it. So if you go to the gym, you'll know that there's not a right way to, you know, stay fit, right? There's yoga, there's Pilates, there's whatever, right? All the works out there. So say in the same way, there's not one right way to go about, you know, making oneself more empathetic. There's a range of stuff out there. What we're trying to do is one particular way of approaching it using the principles of user experience, right? So it would be good if you go out of the session, you know, trying to come up with your own ways as well. So, you know, just to set the right context. So okay, so groups of 4, check. So again, like I said, this is a conversation starter. We're just basically giving you one set of building blocks. So you go out, you can build your own set of building blocks. You know, somebody might actually go out and say, hey, you know what? I have principles from, let's say, engineering that are equally applicable, and I want to play around with it and see how I can actually use those to build empathy. So that's the idea, to kind of give you some sort of building blocks to play with. We're going to hand out some sheets to you. Anu, you need help with that? Yeah, sure. Give you character sheets. So each of you is going to be a different character today. How's that to start the day? So yeah, you know, it's going to be like a role play. So your contact sheet is your own. Don't show it to somebody else. So it's like a fun thing. So you know, whatever you are given, the character you're given, make sure you don't show the sheets, share the sheets with other people. Am I clear, audible at the back? Yeah? Okay. Every group started? Yeah? Do you have the project timeline? Check? Okay. Now, I think we are through probably. No, we had 200 of them, so I guess this. Okay, are we falling short of the sheets? They were all there. They were like okay. So you have character sheets, right? So let's do one thing. If you're falling short, at every table, at least make sure you have one of each character, right? You don't? You have AB twice. Okay. Oh, okay. Both of you have only AB? Yes, we're falling short. Just give us a minute. Else, like one person take one character sheet. Right? Yeah, we'll give you the other two. We'll give it. We'll give it. Yeah. So we'll give the other. It's just got a little messed up. Sure. Yeah, yeah. No, I think you can go through it. If you get the character sheet, if you have the character sheets, just kind of distribute it among yourself. Each one take one character and read through it. There are 4 characters. Do you have 4 sheets? No, we have 2 sheets. We'll get the rest. Same. So everybody has SP and AB? Check. Okay. So who's missing NK? People are missing NKs? This table is missing NKs? You have NKs? Okay. Who's missing FJ? FJ. So NJ and FJ is what is missing. NK and FJ is missing. Okay. So once you have the character sheets distributed among yourselves, each one takes 1 characters, whichever letters are your favorite, and kind of read through it. Right? We'll give you the other sheets for now. Whoever's got the sheets, read through it. We'll get the other characters. They're going to catch. We have enough time. Can you guys hear me?
Does anybody have calculator? No. We are getting back to you. Sorry for the confusion. I thought it would be faster than this needed. No, until you get your character, this context is something that everybody has and is also common to everybody. So just pay a little bit attention on that.
So once everybody's read through your scenario sheet, so that's the context. You're essentially part of this mobile gaming company, and you turn up, and for whatever reason it tanked, right? And it's been a big failure. And your company, it's a very competitive industry, like, you know, people stand. The project is called Project EVA, right? And Project EVA is tanked. That's your context, right? And essentially, this project was high visibility project. People hate it. You know, people just before you launched, the rival company launched another game. He said, you know, I'm going to look into this. This is a big failure. I'm going to make sure, you know, some action is taken. And now all of you have your character sheet. Now what has to happen is that you've heard rumors, right? That heads are going to roll. That's what you've heard. So what we want to do, we want you to together as a group plot that out. What happened at each stage. Your job is to find out what went wrong. Okay? And at the end of it, the CEO has exactly 10 minutes for that. I mean, you know, let's condense the whole of 4 weeks of meetings into 10 minutes.
No, I think we want to know how you get to that decision more than who you actually fire.
Yeah.
We might ask them to leave the table. I'm just kidding. But I think, yeah. So basically, come to a logical conclusion. The conclusion can be that you don't want to fire somebody, that somebody else screwed up. That
Is there a question here? Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, you do.
Let's get to that conclusion eventually.
Yes. So if there are 2 groups, right? So this
Not
group
yet.
discusses, this
Do
group
not
discusses
fill the
separately.
journey. Oh, are we filling the journey map yet? Okay. Hello. Are we starting with the journey map? Okay. Oh, actually, yeah. Go
So-
ahead and fill the journey map with your understanding about the project.
So at each table there are 2 groups, right? There are 2 groups of
don't have
4. So you discuss in the group of 4. So not 8, you discuss in the group of 4. Yeah? You're good? No, it's together. So the point of journey map is to kind of give you something to, you know, hook on to, saying what went wrong here, what went wrong here. But you essentially, it's a discussion, right?
To somebody who fires first.
No 5 brand CEOs out here.
Fire the CEO too.
Okay, I think we'll cut it. Okay, can we have everybody's attention?
Oi!
That's good. Okay.
I think we need to cease off. If you haven't fired somebody, they can leave the room. Just kidding. But okay, who wants to share what happened? I want one volunteer group to kind of.
Yeah,
we have
I
to, like,
mean,
move forward a little
we know
bit.
most of you wouldn't have probably
Too keen
finished
to
the
fire
conversation.
somebody, is it?
But has anyone come to a decision? Any group?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have come to a decision.
Okay, guys, time out.
Tell us about your experience. How did you do what? Who are you firing first?
I think someone's talking out there, sharing her experiences. Can I have everyone's attention, please?
Please, I think.
No
it's okay if
conversations
you
in the
haven't
room,
fired
please.
Anybody yet? It's okay. It's okay to seize off that
So
conversation.
thank you for your attention, please. Here. Thank you.
Can I have your attention, please? At the back.
Thank you for your attention. Here.
Can I have your attention, please? Thank you.
So I fired the designer.
Oh, okay.
Bye. Bye.
The reason was I was told that the designer was lazy and it caused delays in the delivery of the designs.
Who's the designer in the team?
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
I don't agree with the decision.
Can you be a little loud out there?
Initially, it was given the task which was done by other person, and the person left. And whatever the main cosmetics changes were done, but the main task is not
We
done.
can't hear what they're saying.
So what do you think about that? She doesn't agree that it was right.
She could have used the opportunity to improve the designs rather than saying I was given something and I took it forward.
Okay.
Okay, that's fair.
Interesting.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. The group
Anybody
here.
else?
The group
Anybody
here has a.
Share.
The group here wants to share.
Yeah. Okay, let's hear who you have to fire.
So, after hearing all of my team members,
Attention, please. Hush.
after hearing all of my team member, I came to the conclusion that I'm not going to fire anyone. It's just because of the funding. It's just because of the funding. My product manager has not got enough funding, to keep the resources with us, and that's the reason we were going beyond the time. I mean, we were missing the deadlines, and basically this was the reason. Because our designer, product manager, and FG, everyone is perfect. So
Okay. Wow. I'm going to hand out a candy to you for this. The best CEO ever.
One more sharing. I'm gonna give that table a chance. Sorry. You seem too perfect.
The group. Anu, the group at the back. Anu, the group at the back, I guess, had something to say. Okay. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, according to me, I feel like I just agree there's no need to fire anybody just because a product failed. And I would only say it's a kind of a communication gap that the project was not followed on regular intervals. The lead, as per his background, it says that he's been known to deliver things properly on time, and from the designer's perspective, the design is pretty new to the organization, and just dumping something old without having the background and the scenario makes a designer a little confused. I mean, it takes a little more time to design, and then the product management should have taken the responsibility of following up at regular intervals, ensuring resource
Okay. So I think we'll kind of move ahead on that note.
I have a question to both of these teams who said it was nobody's fault. But do we encounter these situations in our daily life? Right?
Anu, there's probably a different view on this table. I would
Okay,
love to
let's
hear them
hear
as
that.
well.
Hello. We will probably fire design manager.
So I'm not design manager.
The product manager.
Manager.
Okay. And why so?
She took a lot of time to sign off.
Okay.
Then she kept changing the requirements. So designer took a lot of time to do that, redesign it. Then she didn't test. She did not design any test cases. So there were many bugs coming in.
Okay.
Then it ended up with many cosmetic changes, which were not fixed.
No side conversation.
Only one that I will fire.
Okay, so that table's firing that group over there is firing their product manager, someone's firing the designer. Is anybody firing the tech guy? The tech lead? No?
Most of them.
No, not fair, huh?
I think this team here, are you firing the tech guy?
Okay.
Hello, I'm Rupali from SAP, and I think I'll be firing the tech lead.
okay.
Okay.
Reason being, it seems there's some architectural issue and it's very slow on the phone. So this thing should have been sorted out before rather than waiting for the launch and then getting a customer feedback.
Okay.
Do you think having that conversation and doing a roadmap helped you guys come to that conclusion?
We didn't have time for all that.
Okay. Did anybody feel that having the roadmap and having that conversation within the team helped you come to a better understanding of what happened
Yes, we
versus what you had initially?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, you get a candy too. Okay, so
I think in the interest of time, we're going to move forward because we want to quickly. We'll get to that in the end if we
We'll-
have time.
we'll
I think
come
it's
back.
fun to
That's
see who
okay.
gets fired, but
Yeah, we'll, in the interest of time, we'll move ahead, we'll come back. Okay, so the next thing is now we wanted to look at, okay, we've done this, right? Now we want to look at it a little differently. So we kind of saw the roadmap is one tool, the product journey map. So ideally,
Ladies here, can I please request you to pay attention?
so the
Thank
journey
you.
map is one tool. Ideally, you could even plot your highs and your lows on it. That would give you a better idea of how many lows and how many highs you had in your project. So that's one tool. Now we want to move a little further and give you something else, which is essentially UX principles. These are principles that we use in UX design, UX research. We want you to have the same conversation again, but this time with the principles, right? And we'll give you like 5 minutes for it. We'll give you 5 minutes for it, right? We just want each table to have this conversation saying, what are we assuming here? Like there are a lot of things out there which we have assumed, right? Because you don't know what the other person's role is. So we'll give you a quick 5 minutes to have a look at this saying, what are we assuming? And the other one is, why were the assumptions made, right? Just see if something new emerges. It's just a quick 5-minute conversation, right? So like for example, I'll give an example, right? So somebody said the product manager did not even bother to check on the progress, right? So why? Why did the product manager did not bother to check? Because if you look at the product manager's context, it says, because engineering never came and told me something. You never raised an issue. I was waiting for you to raise an issue. And because you did not raise or flag an issue, I assumed that everything is fine and that you would not want me to interfere, right? And why did you think that I'm not bothered? Because engineering says, because you never came and asked me. So essentially, the problem is just somebody who's expecting to be asked and somebody who's expecting to be flagged, right? Issues to be flagged. So we want you to just have a quick 2-minute conversation. I'm cutting down. Maybe a quick 2-minute conversation saying, what did we assume here? Each one say what you assumed as your role. Saying, I as the designer assumed this, I as the engineer assumed this, and whatever, right? Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. Any table could go first. Please raise up your
so
hand.
you are
We'll
the
come to you.
CEO. What was the assumption you made when you started looking at this project?
The project itself was my idea. That's what it says here. So I assumed that the project was awesome because nobody stepped up to tell me that it was absurd. Yeah.
Okay, so the CEO here assumed that the project is awesome because that was your idea, right? Okay, that's one assumption.
Yeah, so okay. So basically there's nothing called fail here. Fail is nothing but first attempt in learning. So as a CEO, we were all learning. There was no assumption actually. So the way we attempted to solve this is like by asking whys. 5 W's is what we always go with. Why did it happen? If she says some answer, why did you get? So that is how we went. So to say there was no assumption made in this stage.
Okay.
Okay.
What was your character?
I'll come back to you.
All the CEOs have.
Yeah, so as a CEO, what I assumed is that my product, so my product manager, he's a old-time Magic Corner. So what I assumed is he'll take a full responsibility of a product and he'll keep check on the progress of it. And similarly, I expected the same with other team members as well, that they'll take a full responsibility of
So the CEO here assumed that the product manager would handle everything just because he was an old timer in the company, right? So equating experience with probably ability, right? So
Okay.
yeah, I'll come back to you. I'm really sorry.
My
Can we-
role is the designer. The designer assumed
Everybody, can you please kind of pay attention to what the other person is saying? It will kind of maybe help you understand the whole situation.
And that's empathy as well.
Yes, that's the key to empathy. You need to listen. Okay.
My role is designer, and designer is new to the company. So her assumption is that the leaders that are already experienced here are well known with their work and job, and she should stay quiet to avoid looking stupid as she is new to the company. And the third and very bad assumption was that she has to work on the previous design that was handed over to her by the previous designer.
So the assumption she made is that, you know, I cannot ask questions, right? That I need to go ahead with this. Is that okay? We have one here. I think somebody's been waiting here for a long time, Anu. So once, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a CEO here. So the assumption what as a CEO I made is the company is having a transparent culture.
Okay, very good.
So what I'm thinking is people are empowered. The team is empowered. So when they see something that's going wrong, they can walk up, at least skip level, and say what is the problem.
So that's a classic leadership assumption, right? That you assume that you put a transparent culture in place, people are empowered, somebody's going to walk up and let me know if things are going wrong. But that's not the case, right? And that's a classic example of being maybe out of touch because you assume that everything is right. My company is awesome, right?
Assuming ownership, basically.
Yeah, it's assuming that people take ownership, but actually people are not taking ownership, right? So that's one. And the last one, I think we really need to move after that. Yeah, the last one.
Hello. Yeah, I'm the tech lead, and the assumptions I made was that the designer is lazy.
Okay.
While I was working over the weekends, I thought the designer will not be bothered to come and give us input. So that was the assumption I made without consulting the designer and making an assumption on the behavior of the designer.
And now do you know why the designer was working from
Yes,
home?
I
Okay.
know.
Whoever doesn't know, probably read the designer sheet. So the designer was working from home because
because of some personal reasons, and I could have consulted the designer to get a better impression of the behavior of the designer.
Interesting.
And the other assumption I made was about the product manager who did not give me clear
Right.
directions, and instead of me raising the concern, I thought it's the manager's duty to come back and ask for it.
Sure,
And
that's
I
a
just
nice.
took the load.
That's a nice assumption, no? When you have a manager, you assume that everything that says management is that guy's responsibility, right? So that was another very classic assumption. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Move forward. Yeah.
So I'm really sorry we don't have much time. I know a lot of people really want to talk about this. We didn't cover a lot of people at the back for your responses, but since we are really short on time,
I think but what's awesome is even when the first round we did, a lot of people didn't want to fire anybody, and that should be the ideal case. It's not a problem of a person, it's the processes, right? If you set up the right processes, empower people the right way, it works. So really,
and
give a please round.
yeah, actually I think this group was quite empathetic to start with itself. So, and what's interesting is if you catch a coffee later and even look through, you didn't know the designer's context, right? So if you read through, I'm pretty sure you will find something that you still don't know, right? There's a little bit of personal context out there. That's the best buddies part we were talking about. So you don't need to know that to be able to work well as a team. But if you're best buddies, you'll get to know the personal context as well, right? So probably have a look at the
Be
sheets
mindful
later.
about, being best buddies comes with an emotional bias. So we
Yeah.
don't want to be
Yeah.
too.
So point is, you don't need to know that in order to work well as a team and be empathetic towards each other as a team. That was the point that we were making, right? So essentially, we just gave you two principles, which is assumptions and focusing on the whys. Why am I making? And this is equally applicable individually as well. So if you're faced with any problem at work, you're assuming that your boss is giving you a hard time, and you're saying, why am I assuming this? Am I assuming something? Or you're figuring out that one of your reportees is acting really hard. Why is the person acting hard? Or why is the person acting lazy? So that's essentially the idea, that this scales from an individual level to a team level, right? And there are a lot other principles, like making your intent clear at the start, setting the right expectation. Like the designer did not set the right expectation, right? Saying that I will do this and I won't do this. Flagging issues and dependencies clearly. This is something that didn't happen with your group. So there are a whole bit of, I think everybody's got one of this sheet. I guess every group has, right? So if you look through it, it has 9 principles, and each of these principles is best applied in case you don't have, we'll give it to you towards the end of the session. So the idea is each of this principle is best applied at certain points in the product journey. So if you make a good journey map, it'll probably look something like this. You'll have a kickoff with everybody, all design, engineering, and tech. And that's the point at which you should make your intent clear. Engineering should make its intent clear.
Classic product cycle, if you look through, right? These are some of the tools you can use in each of these, and make sure you kind of go through them as you're moving forward in your project. So.
This is the part where people set the right expectations, set your intent. When you move on to the product requirement gathering, that's the part when people surface all assumptions. We do it with respect to our users all the time. What we miss doing, though, is doing this with respect to our own teams, right? And that's something that, a good product journey map would incorporate, saying whatever we apply to our users, like, finding out assumptions about our users, why don't we also surface assumptions about our team? And so on, right? So that's the idea. So when you come to actually executing your project, that's the part where communication becomes really important, flagging issues, flagging dependencies. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to be in office, I'm going to be working from home, but I'm going to work and make sure this is going to get done on time. So nobody assumes that the other person is being lazy, like that group pointed out. So essentially that's what a good product, we'll share the deck out so you can look at this peacefully. But the point is each of these principles is best applied at certain points in time. And and once, like you said, right, like you rightly said, that there's no failure. Everything is a new chance to learn, right? So maybe assuming that it's a failure itself is an assumption, right? So once you're launched, you ask the whys in the hows, and yeah, that's pretty much it, I think.
There's certain principles that are kind of persistent throughout this life cycle, right? Like establishing clear feedback and feed-forward loops. So why was the CEO coming into the picture 2 years later, right? Why did he actually not think about it in the middle of project and set requirements accordingly? So that's also equivalent to establishing success metrics and all those things we do in a product life cycle. But yeah.
So success metrics, like she mentioned, right? We always do it for the product. What we don't do it is individually, saying, my success metric would be this. If I'm able to achieve this, I can say that I've done a good job. And that doesn't have to be usually we do it for ourselves. Many times we don't surface it. Like we don't share it out in the team. And
it's not always numbers.
It's not always numbers.
In a team building, you're not going to get an OKR ticked off, or you're not going to get a reward or a promotion, because unless your job is to build a culture. But as an engineer, you're not going to get a tick mark because you built culture or help build it. So, but it's really critical for your workplace.
Okay, we are done talking. We're going to shut up and listen now. So any questions, feedback? We have like a minute for it. And that's really bad, but
I get the point that you have to communicate often and give feedbacks often. But I just wanted to understand, how does it help you be more empathetic and what the other person is?
Can you repeat the question? I'm not sure if I
So what she asked was like, so I understood that you need to communicate and like kind of keep giving feedback, but how does it help you being empathetic? So from a product life cycle, if you think, no. But so I'm going to tell you like a portion of the story. So I was working with a manager and we had a decent working relationship. All of a sudden it became sore. And I was like, I basically thought he hated me and thought I was useless. So I was like, okay, you know what? I shouldn't be in that place. Either I should quit or figure it out. I couldn't figure it out, so I was about to quit when one of the persons in my team said, did you ever tell him that he's actually making you feel bad? I was like, isn't it obvious? Like, can't he just see it? Like, I sit next to him, right? He should know that I'm miserable because of him. But what happened was he didn't know. I didn't communicate this to him. So when I actually did that, what I found out that he was treating me like a peer because he doesn't have much experience managing people. And I was looking for more like guidance and mentoring and more positive feedback. So once we established that, it helped us. It was just a conversation we had over coffee, but it made our working relationship better. So I think those kind of communications and like, giving feedback on somebody, like making them actually know how they're making you feel. Obviously you can't be like, oh God, you hurt my feeling, that I hate you now. You need to be more professional about it, but if you actually frame a problem in a way that, hey, what you're doing is affecting me in this way, can you help me? As soon as you make this a question about can you help me, people are more responsive about it, versus if you say, you did this and I hate you, they're going to be like, whatever. So I think
So how was the session, guys? How do you like it? Yeah? Did you all learn something new today? Yeah? Okay. So I'm sure you'll have a bunch of questions, but we're really running short of time, and the next session is going to start. So I invite you all to speak to Anubhuti and Neelam both in the corridor as we head out. But before you all leave the room, we'd like to take a chance to hand out a small token of appreciation to both the speakers. So if you really like the session, please put your hands together. Thank you.